One. Welcome everybody to the Digital Nomads sessions. My name is Mitch, your host, and today I have with me Kathryn Moorhouse. So she is an absolute dynamite in the Pinterest marketing space. So Kathryn, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to dive into Pinterest.
So am I, and I'm really excited because I think it's something that gets overlooked. However, for the people that it resonates with the most, I think there's a huge amount of opportunity there, and I'm sure you can probably agree with that. And we expand on that in just a moment. But before I do, today's topic for everybody is how Pinterest can work for digital nomads looking to build a brand. And let me tell you a little bit about Kathryn before we do start, and then we'll dive straight into the content. So Kathryn Moorhouse is a Pinterest marketing educator and online marketing mentor. She teaches small business owners how to simplify their online marketing strategies, use Pinterest effectively for their business, and create a profitable business that gives them the time freedom they've been searching for, which is perfect for our audience right now. Kathryn has helped hundreds of business owners grow their email lists, sales, and website traffic using Pinterest, allowing them to finally feel like they run their marketing instead of the other way around. Now, Kathryn, why Pinterest for you? Why has that been an important marketing strategy, and how has it positively affected your business and your life?
Well, I have always been some kind of content creator before we had the term content creator. And all the different kinds of businesses that I've run throughout my life, I have always put a lot of effort, and I'm sure many digital nomads do the same thing, a lot of effort into photography, into the content you create, into the messaging and the stories and everything. And I was getting so frustrated when I began marketing on social media and other platforms naturally as well, and even on Pinterest, when I just felt like I was constantly doing things and burning out. Like I just felt like I had to be everywhere all the time, online, doing everything. And my content was going out there and then just being seen for a few minutes and then it was gone. And you're like, I really hope that this piece of content resonates with people immediately so they begin engaging with it. And we have this, snowball effect. But what I began to realize with Pinterest is that I would put my content out there, like on all the other platforms and everything, and it would consistently bring me traffic, even when I wasn't actively posting that piece of content on there consistently. So it was a really interesting thing because we had moved around quite often, and there was a time where I had 2 months without a computer. I couldn't do anything. And that kind of anxiety when you don't have internet or the power goes out somewhere in whatever country you're in, and you just freak out because you're thinking, I need to get my content out there. I need people to see it, and I need people to see it for longer than a few seconds. And Pinterest is so important for me because I began to see that whatever I posted on Pinterest had a really long lifespan. So Pinterest is a visual search engine and it hosts evergreen content. So what people do on there is they would go and search for something, and a pin from a few years ago can appear in the search engine. And so my information, the content I was creating, was appearing years later in search results, and I was getting traffic from it. And I just felt like if you put that much energy into your content creation, you want people to see it for more than just a few seconds. And Pinterest began doing that for me, and it also became the highest referrer of traffic for me. So I started diving deeper into it and getting better results with it. And I just couldn't give it up because I was like, this is a digital nomad's dream when you can step away from your computer, automate a few things to be going out on that platform, and know that content you created last year, a month ago, today, whenever it is getting traffic and being seen by your audience. It changed the way I looked at marketing. And I think that's what made me so passionate about it. I don't know if you can hear, get really passionate about it. And so I did that for my clients. I began seeing other people like in the exact same situation I was in. And I was like, you got to use Pinterest. And so that's really when I began offering that and connected with other business owners. They're like, hey, can you do this for me? So it was definitely a journey into that. And I think for digital nomads, it's just an amazing platform that leverages the content you've already created in the way that we all want it to be leveraged.
Amazing. Well, you've got me convinced already. I'm excited for this. Who is Pinterest for everyone? Would you say?
So I wouldn't say it's for everybody. Even though you may hear that almost every business can be on it, which is true, there's definitely this idea that, recipe creators, DIY bloggers and things like that could be on there, but that really is an old notion. Almost all business categories are on Pinterest now and searchable on Pinterest now. The biggest question you have to ask yourself to see whether or not it's right for your business is, do you create content? Because it is a place for content. It's a traffic generator, a search engine, not a social media channel. And so you need to look at it like that and see, do I have content that I can be putting on there and sending people to? That is the biggest question you have to ask yourself. And so it's right for people that have content. It doesn't matter if it's hosted on your website or your Facebook page, or you write mini blog posts on Instagram. You just have to have content that is worthy enough to be clicked on and actually read, and then also searchable, because it is a search engine. So if it's just a fun topic that doesn't really have any searchability, then it's really hard to get it showing up in the right places on Pinterest.
For sure. And I think maybe we'll dive into that a little bit in just a moment. But yeah, I think this is a really great time to sort of break down sort of how digital nomads can start to build their brand with Pinterest. So can you maybe share some of the steps or the things that you would recommend for us on where to start?
Yes, definitely. So as a digital nomad, the first place, you're going to hear me say this over and over again, but the first place is quality content, because it's for content creators, essentially. So the reason why, there's actually multiple reasons why. It's not just, we need great quality content because otherwise people don't pay attention. It's really great quality content because if a pinner, that's the user on Pinterest. So there's some of these, jargon words that you might hear me use. So if a pinner clicks on an image on Pinterest and goes through to your website and they see your content, if they stick around, that's great, because obviously you want to take them on a journey. But if you have quality content and they end up leaving after they've read it and all of that, Pinterest is actually going to show more of your content to them on Pinterest. Pinterest is all about personalizing the experience. So if they've clicked on anything or engaged with any of your content on Pinterest, they're going to see more of it. It's kind of like ads across the internet. You're going to see more of what you clicked on. So it's exactly the same. And when you have this quality content, it means that when they do see more of your content, you've already built the know, like, and trust factor through your piece of content. You are competing in a sea of beautiful images on Pinterest, in a search result or in their home feed. And the key is to make sure that they know who you are. That's how you build this brand. You build the brand recognition by creating this quality content that once they've engaged with it once, you will be the top choice whenever they see your pins on Pinterest as it relates to their search queries. So quality content is number one. And because it is a search engine, the next thing that you need to focus on, and the next step you want to take, is to make sure that you're creating searchable content, but you're also using search engine optimization tactics on your Pinterest profile and on your website or wherever your content is hosted. So one of the biggest things that I just want to encourage you all with is that Pinterest, being this visual search engine, focuses on search engine tactics and the keyword research and all of that to showcase your pin images in front of Pinterest users when they type something into the search bar. So what you can do to find the right keywords, it's actually very easy on Pinterest, is you will type in the topic that you cover. So let's say you're a Facebook marketing expert. Type in Facebook marketing into the Pinterest search bar, hit enter, and right underneath that search bar, you're going to see little blocks appear. It's called the Pinterest guided search. And what it is doing is it's guiding Pinterest users on their next step, but it is all based on data. Okay, so they've collected all this data from Pinterest users that have typed in things over and over again. So if someone is looking for something related to Facebook marketing, you'll notice the first button on the left will have probably another word inside it. Let's say something like tips. And when you hover over it, it's going to give you the full key phrase, Facebook marketing tips. That means that is the highest searched key phrase in relation to Facebook marketing, in relation to your topic. And you can go through all those buttons, write down those keywords. You can even click on the button and it's going to take you deeper into the search, and you will see more buttons appear with more key phrases. And so you can collect a huge variety of keywords and key phrases to use in your content, in your post descriptions on Pinterest, on your pin images themselves, that really help Pinterest users identify that your content is right for them. And secondly, for Pinterest to see, okay, we actually have to show your pin in the search result in the space. So one of the big things Next that you need to do, once you look at that, is create really great graphics. So I always like to say, if you want to think of an easy way to explain what Pinterest is, it's as if Google, Instagram, and artificial intelligence had a baby. Okay, so we're going to leave out the AI for today because that's a little in depth, but they use it to really figure out all of the visual search engine side of things. But the Google and Instagram, Google is a search engine naturally. And so Pinterest runs off of that very similar search engine functionality. Instagram, it's all about the images. So when you type something into the Google search bar, you get text-based results most often. When you go to Instagram, you see these beautiful graphics. Now with Pinterest, you get both. You type into the Pinterest search bar and you get visual results. So you get the search engine from Google, but you get the visuals like Instagram. And the great thing is that when someone searches for something, they're not going to see that text hitting, and you don't have to fight that little section where you're trying to give like the best title or put in the best words in there to make people think, I've got to click through. You're using your image to fight through this, all of the other graphics that are there. You are using your image to showcase what your piece of content is about. So we'll take a very easy example, which is a gluten-free vegan brownie recipe. Okay, everybody can see that in their mind. Now, if someone types that into the Pinterest search bar, there obviously are going to be lots of images. Well, a lot of images will appear naturally. And when a pinner looks at that, they are not looking at the title at the bottom, the little text section. They're looking at the image. And images are so powerful. So you need to compete on the image spectrum as well. You need to really be investing in great imagery to showcase what your content is about. Now, the great thing is you can put text overlay on your image, of course. And if you use keywords that are identical to the keywords typed into the search bar, they're more likely to click on your pin. So again, this is where those keywords come into play. And when you think of the gluten-free vegan brownie recipe, there could be many brownie images in that search result, but which one will someone click on that if they're looking for a gluten-free vegan brownie recipe? Probably the one that literally has those keywords on it because all the graphics are going to look great. They're obviously going to be drawn to the one that looks the best. But the thing that's going to make them click on it is if they know that it's actually what they're looking for. It has to have gluten-free and vegan on there. And so you're looking at keywords plus imagery to really capture their attention and help them click through to your content. So those are really important things that you have to focus on as you get started. And the final thing that I would suggest you focus on is obviously setting up a very, a search engine optimized Pinterest profile. So you're going to hear me say search engine a lot today because again, that's what it is. So search engine optimized Pinterest profile. And those steps are quite easy to do. Myself as a Pinterest educator and many other Pinterest educators normally have checklists to take you through all those steps. So I'm not going to take you through all of them right now, but it's setting up a profile that is really going to work with that platform, creating the right boards to put these images on, finding the right keywords, doing the appropriate keyword research, making sure that you're creating the space on Pinterest that really allows your pinners to see exactly what kind of content you share, the great imagery you have to share, and obviously other people's content that works well with that.
Yeah, amazing. Really well explained. So I had a couple of questions come up through that. Number one was about our images. So, we're talking about how we need to have really great imagery plus the text, the keywords on there at the same time. For example, like Facebook have a bit of a rule about, only 20% of your image should be text or less. Are there any sort of guidelines or recommendations from your experience about how much of the image should be text and how much should not, so forth?
Yes, definitely. There isn't anything necessarily that Pinterest has said in terms of rules like that. They have given us rules of where you shouldn't place text, and it's very similar to Instagram stories. Don't put it in any of the four corners because that's where they put various features. So if you click on a certain feature in the bottom right, it's going to cover your logo. So don't put your logos in any of the corners. But in terms of the actual text, my best suggestion and something that I've found to be super useful is to keep text minimal so that you can make the text as big as possible and as bold as possible. Now, if you have a lot of text, a full title, a full sentence, it is going to obviously be a lot smaller to see on Pinterest when you are scrolling that feed. So you want to be able to use only a few keywords that would easily describe what this item is about or what this piece of content is about, so that you can make it as big as possible, as bold as possible. Now, there are different kinds of pin images. You can create pin images that are just images without any text on top. They perform really well when the actual focus of the image is on the item that you are trying to get them to look into. So if you are selling a handbag, having the handbag in the center or in that space, in that focus area, is a great thing. If it's all about travel, then the actual look of the image is going to be of more emphasis, let's put it that way. If you have something like a recipe, you may want to include a few keywords. So great imagery, either at the bottom or top, is really great, and then your text in the opposite area. And so you can have really half text, half image in that case, or you can have image, a little bit of text, and the rest, and the second image. Because remember, they're long vertical graphics on Pinterest. So there is a bit more space to work with. And some images are just text-based. So you don't even have to have an actual photo in the background. You can have a blank color. That's what I do for many of my images, because we talk about Pinterest marketing. So I'll just have one main thing, like a microphone, for example, if I'm talking about a podcast or how to do something like that on Pinterest. So you can definitely do that. And in terms of this amount of words on there and where you place them, that really is up to you. It's just keep it simple, keep it minimal, because people are seeing a lot on Pinterest. And so for you to stand out, you have to be bold, and you have to look at also the images that are appearing in the search alongside your images. So if you are in Facebook marketing, for example, you're going to type that in and look at what you can see. What is everybody else doing? How can I be different? How can I stand out in terms of the colors that I use? How can I make sure that my text stands out? What captures my attention when I see all of these images? Because that really helps you figure out what kind of style you want to go with and how many words you want to use.
Yeah, amazing. And the other question just around images is, in terms of best practice, maybe for you and based on your experience, is it best to keep like our profiles the same sort of feel? So like we're using the same type of fonts and sizes and colors and things like that? Or are you always testing and trying to mix it up a little bit?
Well, you can definitely test and mix it up a bit, but we are talking about brand recognition here on Pinterest. To build a brand for your digital nomad business, you really want to make sure that people know who you are and get comfortable with your kind of graphics, but you can definitely test variations. So the great thing is that Pinterest lets you create multiple images for one blog post, and they consider that fresh content each time. So even though it's the same blog post, it's fresh content, which is why you can definitely test out different variations. But my suggestion, and something that I found, is if you stick to your color palette of your brand, it is the best, because what Pinterest also does for search engine optimization and figuring out your ranking is they will not only look at the keywords on your pin, in your pin description, they're also going to take a look at the actual keywords and the words used in your blog post, title, the URL. They want to see it match, and that's called text cohesion. And they want to make sure that you have that so that they can actually rank you highly in the search engine as good quality content. The other thing they do is image cohesion. So you want to make sure that the image on your blog post or in your blog post or anywhere on your website is at least similar in style to the pin image you have. And that's why I say stick with your brand colors, because you can test out variations in terms of using blank background colors and no image with text on it, or using an actual photograph with text over it. But as long as you're using your brand colors and your brand fonts and keeping the keywords similar across the board, then you are good. So you can test all the variations, just make sure that the color palette is similar, so that when I visit Pinterest and I see your content on there, I know it's you. Even if the image style is different, I know it's you because of your color palette, and I know it's you because of your logo that's on there. And so it really builds that brand recognition throughout. It doesn't matter if the style changes a little bit, but it's really about keeping those branding elements consistent.
Yeah, amazing. Really great insights there. That's really cool. So another question that came up then was right at the end of your initial, when we were talking about it before, is and I might be jumping the gun a little bit here, but you started talking about boards, but didn't really dive into what they
Yes.
actually are and how we can use them. So, is that the next thing we need to be thinking about, or is that going to come up later, or should we address it now?
We can address it now, definitely.
Okay.
So that's definitely in the setup process. Pinterest actually is so great at prompting you on your next steps when you join as a business. So thankfully, they're going to tell you exactly what you need to do. And with a board, here's the best way to visually see it in your mind. When Pinterest got started, they really took the visual boards that we used to have in our offices, those pin boards, the cork boards, tear out magazine things for your vision board and pin it to that board. That is really what Pinterest became in the virtual space. They took that idea and moved it online, which is why they refer to them as boards. So you actually technically can call them cork boards online, your vision boards online, your idea boards online. So that is what a Pinterest board is. It's taking that board that you used to have in your office and it's putting it online. So when you used to tear out ideas from the magazine, it may have been some articles about email marketing. It may have been a few other things, and you would pin it all onto your board. Now on Pinterest, you can actually create one board around that topic. So we would actually create a board called email marketing, and we'd save all of the images across Pinterest that we felt related to email marketing and would help us. We would save it to our email marketing board. And then when we needed email marketing tips or strategies or ideas, we come back to our email marketing board and we look at all the pins, we find the one that we want to go and read, and we get that information. And so in the same way, if you are looking more at the traditional side of things with recipes, you would create a dinner recipes board for yourself. This is a user experience. That's who you're obviously targeting. So a user would come onto Pinterest and they would think about all the dinner recipes they may want to create, and they would go and search for them and find them, and they would create a dinner recipe board, very similar to going in the magazine and tearing out all the recipes and pinning it on the pin board. But now you're doing it virtually. You don't have to have an office filled with all of those magazine clippings. You have it all online, and it's from any website online that has a pin on Pinterest. So now you can save all of these dinner recipes into this one board. So as a business, how do we apply that? We will create boards that relate to the kinds of content we share on our website. You always start with your content first, because remember, you're attracting your audience to your Pinterest profile. So you want to take a look at the topics you cover on your blog, on your podcast, whatever it may be, and you want to create boards around those topics. Now, taking it one step further, we're going to think of the search engine again. And instead of creating a board name just out of our own head, we're going to type that topic into the search engine on Pinterest, and we're going to find the most appropriate keyword that pops up to make the board name. Because this is really going a little deeper, boards are also searchable on Pinterest. Not only are your pins searchable, but people can find your boards on Pinterest, which means you want to make sure that you're using keywords in your board names and descriptions. So you would potentially, for myself, I have an email marketing tips board because that's what I talk about. I have an Instagram marketing board because I sometimes share that kind of content. I definitely have a Pinterest marketing board. And so I would create boards around those different topics so that I can draw in my ideal clients with the content I share on those boards. And should they be looking for email marketing tips, all of the pins under my email marketing board have the potential of showing up in that search result thanks to my search engine optimization tactics.
Amazing, really well explained. That's really cool. So, okay, so we've got a lot of really great information already to get started on Pinterest. What else do we need to be thinking about as digital nomads when using Pinterest to build our brands?
So when you are a digital nomad, again, you are looking at trying to limit the amount of time that you are wasting. Okay, so this is one of the biggest tips that takes you from using Pinterest well to actually using it as an expert is automating as much as you can. So naturally, you are going to create your content already, and that's going to be on your site or wherever you host it. You're going to need to create graphics and do a bit of keyword research initially. So my best tip for that is start out by doing your overall Pinterest profile keyword research right in the beginning before you do anything on your Pinterest profile, before you even set up boards, because you need those keywords to create the board names, to add descriptions to the board descriptions, to figure out what to put on your pin images in terms of text. So starting out by doing that keyword research is going to save you so much time in the long run, because you have literally a notebook. Hopefully it's online and you're not actually writing it. So hopefully you can do it on your computer so that it's just really easy to grab and copy. But you have this bank of keywords that you can draw on every single time you create new content, so that you know that the content you're creating is searchable on Pinterest, and you know that those keywords will appear there. And then you want to actually automate the pinning process, because we are required to pin daily. So Pinterest suggests 5 pins per day. Now that doesn't actually have to be what most people are thinking is 5 original Instagram posts. Do I have to do that on Pinterest per day? No, it's not exactly like that, and I'll explain that. But you want to use an automation tool like Tailwind or something like that, where you can actually schedule the month in advance. So the pins are going out without you worrying. And that's what I did when I went away. And I do for my clients and my students. I teach them to do that because, again, you want the freedom. You don't want to sit on Christmas Day thinking, oh, I've got a pin, otherwise I'm not going to keep growing my Pinterest profile. So you don't have to worry about that when you actually focus on that automation. You can step away and think strategically and long-term instead of worrying about the day-to-day pinning. Now, when I said 5 pins per day, let's dive into that a little bit, because I think that is useful to know. So Pinterest pins, again, that was jargon. I should have actually used what most people would say. It's just an image. It's your post. They call them pins because, again, we're pinning it to the board. So when I say pin, I refer to the image that you're adding to Pinterest. Now, when you add this image to Pinterest, you obviously are going to include a URL and lead them directly to that piece of content. That is the beauty of using Pinterest. Someone sees the image, they click on it, and it takes them exactly to where they need to go. The product, the offer, the blog post, whatever it may be. Now, when you create this piece of content and you create one pin image for it, that's considered a fresh piece of content. And Pinterest loves fresh content from you. But they are also okay with you creating multiple images for this one piece of content. So you can create multiple pins. I mean, I'm talking 10 to 50 pin image variations if you want to. You can do 5 per blog post. It just depends on how much content you create. Photographers or photography educators, they have a lot of graphics, so they don't have to worry so much about that. They constantly have new content. But most of us, whether you're a blogger or a service provider or anything like that, you're creating probably 1 blog post a week. And so that's 4 new pieces of content a month. But you can create, like I say, 5 image variations for every single piece of content. And when you pin it to Pinterest, you're not just, this is the beauty here again, you're not pinning it to one board only. You're pinning it to all the relevant boards. That means if this piece of content was about email marketing tips, I'm going to first save it to the most relevant board. Why? Because Pinterest is a search engine, and they are going to associate your pin image with keywords from various places. Pin description, pin title, a few other places. Okay, but most importantly as well, the board name and the board description, any keywords that appear in there, they're going to associate your pin with. So if you don't want to rank under dinner recipes for your email marketing tips, obviously you're not going to put it in that board. And Pinterest also, they actually won't let you show up under dinner recipes because they know how to do that already. They can see this isn't about dinner recipes because they actually match your keywords, and then they give you a confidence score, and that's how they rank you in the search engine. So you want to make sure that you're getting the highest score possible for all your pins, and that's why you want to put it in the most relevant board first, so that the email marketing tips name of the board, the keyword called email marketing tips in the board description matches perfectly with this pin that also has email marketing tips in its pin description and in the blog post title and in the blog text. So it all works perfectly. So I'm going to add this one pin image to the email marketing tips board, but I can also add it to any other relevant boards on my Pinterest profile. That could be, it could be something as simple as marketing tips. Maybe I have another board called marketing tips. It's more broad, but email marketing fits in perfectly. I can obviously put it into my business board. So we always create one board that houses all of your business content, and that's called your business board. And that's just really important to do because you can easily find your content in there, and so can your audience. I'm going to tell you why this is important in just a second. But as we add this pin image to the email marketing tips, then the marketing tips, maybe there's something within this blog post that has to do with social media and email marketing tips. You might want to add it to the social media marketing board too, because it's relatable. And there's content around that in that blog post. So you can add it to more than one board that you have on your profile. So already, every time you add that pin to a board, it's considered one pin. So now in one day, we've added this pin to, let's say, 4 boards. That makes it 4 pins already added. It's one piece of content, one pin image. You added it to 4 boards. That's 4 pins for this day. So you can see how 5 pins becomes very easy when you have multiple boards where it's applicable. And then all the image variations for that same piece of content, again, it becomes a lot easier to hit that 5 pins per day. Now, on top of that, Pinterest encourages content creators like us to share other people's content on our profile because it actually boosts your profile in terms of its distribution. When you share really great quality content from other creators on Pinterest to your profile, where applicable, share other people's email marketing tips in there, it's going to actually attract your audience to your profile because they're going to be engaging with that pin from your profile. Even if they don't click through to your profile, it's actually added to your analytics. It said you were the one that saved this pin, and people on Pinterest ended up clicking on the pin that was saved into your board. So we can see that you are a great content creator and content curator. So all of your content that has been validated against your confirmed website will get higher distribution because you're a quality pinner. You are sharing great content and you are saving great content from others. So it actually works really well together. So with the 5 pins per day, it's not only your content, it's other people's content too. And that's the brilliant thing. And that's where the business board comes in. Sorry, I just wanted to finish off with that thought of the business board. When you have other people's content on your profile, in all the other boards, the email marketing, social media marketing, if someone comes to your profile and they just want to see your content, because they've come to know that you are so good at what you create and they want to read more of your blog posts or see more of your products. When you have one board dedicated to your content only, it's very easy for people to find that board right up at the top, go into it and see all of your content. And so that's why we also do that.
Amazing. That's, yeah, and more really amazing insights. I'm loving this so far. Is there a certain amount of boards that you recommend for each person, or is it sort of relative depending on sort of what they're teaching and sharing?
So there's sort of a minimum, and the maximum is something huge like 200 boards or something like that. So you don't have to worry about them. Most people don't hit the maximum. But in terms of the minimum, you want to at least start with 10 to 20 boards. And if you're just starting out and you just create 10 really great ones initially, then add the next 10 once you are able to do that. The 10 to 20 is because it gives you a good variation, but it also covers most of the topics that you're going to be talking about and all the variations. So just going back to the Facebook idea, you may think, okay, but I can only create one board, Facebook marketing, but there's Facebook ads, there's Facebook stories, there's all these different things. So you can actually create boards around these more niche topics in your industry as well. So 10 to 20 is a really good starting place, and you can go up from there.
Yeah, amazing. That's really cool. And then just coming back, maybe just circling back a little bit to when we're talking about like keyword research and how Pinterest guide us on what keywords are being searched and that type of thing. One thing with Instagram, for example, is they'll show you how many people are following that type of hashtag in the Instagram world. Are we able to see sort of where those keywords are ranking, or how big the search volume is for those keywords when we're searching on Pinterest as well?
So they don't give you that search volume on the actual keyword when you see it in the guided search. And they don't do that normally in any of the spaces that you would normally look for them on Pinterest. They actually surprisingly have it for hashtags. So you can include hashtags in your pin description, and they do tell you how many pins use that hashtag. So very similar to Instagram, it will tell you how many people are using that hashtag, but not the keywords. Now, there is a workaround, but it's not a great workaround. It doesn't cover all the keywords, and it really doesn't cover the best keywords, but we'll let it be. If you go into the promoted pins section, so you have to have a business account for this. When you go into the ad section and you say create an ad, you don't have to actually follow through with creating the ad. you'll just go to the section that says keywords, where they ask you to add keywords where your promoted pin, your promoted ad would appear on Pinterest. And so when you start typing in their little search bar right there and you click enter, you'll see a number of key phrases appear and there will be a search volume next to it. What I found is they do it for quite a few keywords, and that's really great to get an idea of the search volume. But some of the best keywords that I've used, and specifically for niched areas in businesses, maybe more online businesses like service-based businesses, it's harder to find those keywords because more people are running ads potentially to, you know, the recipes, the getting started with business, making money online, those kind of things have a lot of keywords appear. So you can see the search volume there. So don't be afraid if you do that search and you don't find your keyword appear in there. I found that sometimes that happens, but it might give you a good idea just as to this topic, what kind of search volume are they getting. The other way to do it is to actually use a third party. You know, any of those keyword research tools where they give you the search volume, you can actually put in your keyword over there, and some of them take a look at Pinterest search volume. And so keywords that use Pinterest search, I don't do it that way because I just obviously follow what I see in the guided search. And then I'll also take a look at a section called related pins, which is just below a pin when you click on it, and it gives you a good idea as to what kind of keywords people are using. But you can do that if you do want to see the go ahead and do that, and you might be able to find the search volume.
Yeah, amazing. I love these little hacks that pop up here and there. So that's really cool. I've got a couple more questions before we finish up. Is there anything else that we need to be thinking about before we move on to the next question?
No, I think that should be good. I think that's a good place to start. There was a lot in there.
Yeah, it's amazing. This is like the most insightful explanation of Pinterest I've ever had and ever seen. So yeah, thank you for this. So I guess a question that I had, and we've probably answered it quite a lot already, but maybe just to recap a little bit is, are these strategies timeless, or do we need to keep developing our skills? And if so, how should we actually do that?
Definitely. So most of the strategies that I mentioned here, the things that I mentioned, they are timeless because I've always approached Pinterest education from a long-term marketing strategy point of view. So there are a lot of small hacks you can do daily to improve your Pinterest performance based on the latest update. But the real benefit comes through long-term strategy implementation. And so that really is what we have shared today. Those kind of things that focus on keyword optimization, your actual content, a sales funnel. Someone lands on your blog post and actually has the next step in place. That is huge because now you can convert that traffic. So those kind of things are all long-term marketing strategies and have been applicable for the last 4 years. We haven't seen any changes in those kinds of things. In terms of, you know, just other strategies that you may want to use or things that you would want to keep learning about, it really has to do with some of the latest updates, like they're going into personalization. They are really focusing on personalizing everybody's feed. So if you have blue eyes and you search for eyeshadow and you keep typing in the keyword blue eyes for blue eyes, eventually you're going to see just stuff for blue eyes. That's how they want to personalize it because now they know that you have blue eyes. At the moment, they have drop downs that you can filter through. You can select these things, but they want to get to know you well enough to be able to really give you only the things that you're looking for. So being able to hack those kind of things with your content, if you're in the makeup industry, for example, I mean, this is applicable to many areas, but if there is personalization in your industry in some way, whether it's eye color or hair color or anything like that, you can create a pin image that says, you know, the top 10 eyeshadows for blue eyes, another pin image, top 10 eyeshadows for brown eyes. You know, you're just creating these variations and figuring out how you can match your content to some personalization. And that just takes you to a whole new level on Pinterest. So there's always a little bit to learn. Video pins are coming in and they're doing really well on Pinterest. And so we're seeing a lot of that. And that's always something that you can dive into. You can, you know, pay attention to what Pinterest educators are saying and just take those hacks and do them where it's applicable to your business. But I wouldn't overcomplicate it in the beginning. I would stick with these long-term strategies because they win out in the end always.
Yeah, absolutely. Really amazing. So we've got some really great tips now to get started. In fact, I think we've got like the entire system that we need to get started and be successful. There's been so much value in here. But one thing I want to cover before we do finish up are like some of the biggest mistakes that you see people making, especially newbies getting started. So what would they be, and how can we avoid them?
Definitely. So, one thing is that SEO side of things that I spoke about. A lot of people are putting pin images up or images up and thinking it's very similar to Instagram or another social media channel. And they aren't actually looking at their pin descriptions to create these SEO up, well, the search engine optimized keywords in their pin descriptions. They're not creating those kind of descriptions. And they're also not looking at the big picture. So, one of the things that I really want to encourage every digital nomad to do, if you are a content creator, and you probably all know this, is to make sure that you're looking at the big picture with any of the platforms that you're using. You're not just posting for the sake of posting to maybe get a little engagement. You really have an outcome or a goal in place. And I see a lot of people using Pinterest and just trying to get traffic, but not really doing anything with the traffic. You need to make sure that you are actually taking them on a journey to either join your community, get your product or anything like that. So taking a step back, looking at what you really want Pinterest to do for you as a digital nomad is the most important thing. And I see a lot of people skipping over that and just sort of going, I need to be on Pinterest. Let me post as much as I can, instead of really thinking about what I want my ideal client to do. And that increases your return on investment in terms of the time you put into Pinterest.
Yeah, amazing. Really good tip. And I actually just had another question, probably more from my personal point of my personal need is like I think you mentioned at the start that when we're sending people to the actual piece of content, it can be on other social media platforms. Is that sort of what you recommend, or is it always best to go to like an owned asset like your website or something like that?
Well, it really depends. I do think website is always the number one choice because, again, you do own that asset. It could be your podcast website. It could be, a store, anything that you have in that space, because you can get access to your back end of that website. You can put in the appropriate code and validate that website with Pinterest. When you validate that website, they're able to see what content you add to Pinterest actually belongs to you. So all of these things that you're doing, you're trying to do it so that they can make sure that they share more of your content. And when it leads to that one validated website, all of a sudden it all gets a boost. Again, great quality content means you validated your website and Pinterest can see that. So that's why that is hugely important. And you can only validate a website that you have access to the back end in, because you need to put the code in. So that is why that would probably be my number one thing. But something that Pinterest is doing that has been super helpful, and I think this is because a lot of content creators are doing mini blog posts on Instagram. They're doing a lot of their video content on YouTube, and they don't want to miss out on getting those traffic numbers, and also under Pinterest knowing that it belongs to them. So Pinterest has now created 3 accounts that you can claim. It's not the same as validating your website, but it is validating that you own that account. So you can claim Instagram, you can claim your YouTube channel, and you can claim your Etsy store. Those are 3 things right now. Not Facebook just yet, but right now it's those 3. So any pin that leads to your Instagram post would be attributed to you. And so again, that's a validation that it belongs to you. So if you are a blogger that really focuses on just your Instagram hub, send them to those places, send them directly to those posts, but make sure you claim your Instagram account. If you have YouTube, again, exactly the same thing, claim your YouTube accounts. You can also send them to Facebook by just changing out the URL of a pin image, a post that you put up, and leading them to the Facebook post. But big warning here, do not send someone to a general page on your website, on Instagram, or anything like that. If you're telling them they're going to learn the top 10, whatever it may be, send them to the exact post where they're learning that. But you can send them anywhere. There is that hierarchy, as I spoke about now.
Yeah, amazing. Really great insight. So, yeah, I think everyone at home has got a lot to take away and to get started with. And yeah, Kathryn, I just want to thank you for taking the time to share everything with us today. You're a great teacher and you explain it very well. And I know I've definitely learned a lot in the process as well. So I'm sure there's going to be many people out there who want to continue the conversation with you. So where can they actually go to do that?
Definitely. So they can visit me at my website, kathrynmoorhouse.com. I have a contact form there. I have all my socials on there. So connect with me wherever you have a space on the internet, and send me a message. Yeah, I'd be happy to connect.
Amazing. And we'll link that up down below as well. So I encourage everyone at home to start taking some action, maybe build out some ideas on the boards you can create and how you can optimize your profile and start creating content as well. So until next time, Kathryn, thanks for joining us, and hopefully we'll catch up again soon.
Thank you so much for having me.